Things aren't going so well for me lately. My wife Angela and I are fighting.
Now what happened? Who is it? Whose little girl have I been raising?
Angela is my American dream. But that dream is becoming a nightmare. I can't pay my bills. And now the state's saying I gotta pay child support to some other woman. My wife should stand by her man during hard times. But mine didn't.
Stop it! Stop!
I see what I gotta do. A real man takes control. A real man makes people sit up and pay attention. And nothing gets Angela's attention like these three.
At about 4:30 in the morning, my dad came home very drunk and sees that my mom, Angela, was not there.
Angela, where are you?
And that we were all in the bedrooms by ourselves. He goes into our room, one by one picks us up and puts us in the car.
Let's get inside. See what your sister's, okay? Everybody sit back, all right?
And he started driving around. And I could remember just feeling that something very bad's about to happen.
This wasn't just about the money. A few weeks ago, Angie dropped a bomb.
Say that again, huh? Look at me when I'm talking to you.
Sophia, the oldest, wasn't even mine.
Say that one more time, so that I can understand, because I don't understand. You're gonna tell me that I've been raising somebody else's little girl.
I'm sorry.
And you're gonna ask me to not get upset about it?
Angie had her with some scumbag. Finding out the woman I loved was keeping secrets from me under my roof. That was more than I could take.
Two detectives headed out that morning and they found a car parked on the side of the driveway up to the winery, and the driver had been shot to death.
He was found slumped halfway in and halfway out of a vehicle. Evidently, he was trying to get out to defend himself against the attack that ended his life.
Some winery workers came and identified him as Tracy Toohey, the assistant winemaker there.
Another employee of that vineyard had been assaulted and had been shot. His name was Ken. He was injured and wounded, but not mortally.
Ken was sitting out on the porch of his residence. He noticed a Ford LTD driving up and recognized that it was an employee.
Ramon? Hey, how are you?
The man turned away from him, picked up something from inside, and when he turned back...
What are you doing here so early? I'm coming here to kill you.
Ken's wife heard the shots fired and then came to a window of the house, looked out, saw that the gun was pointed at her.
She heard the gun click. Very fortunate for her that the firearm didn't fire.
She recognized that it was Ramon Salcido, a man who worked at the winery.
Both Tracy and Ken had been the supervisors for Ramon Salcido.
Why do you think he targeted you?
I was sort of his boss.
Hey, Ramon. Hey, you know you're late.
He was apparently having a drinking problem, and that Ken had to reprimand him.
This can't happen anymore, okay? Everybody's got to play by the same rules here.
Hey, do I get my job done?
No, that's not the point.
Yeah, but it is the point. I get my job done, so don't worry about what time I get here. Why are you walking away?
Because you're not listening to me.
We learned that there were some issues between Ramon and his wife.
I'm listening to you. I'm listening to every word you're
No,
saying.
you're not.
The couple had been having increasing marital problems, and he was extremely jealous of her. There were 2 shootings already. They needed to check on his wife.
I took the girls to look for Angela, but we couldn't find her. I knew she was cheating on me. I knew who he was. And now that I'm broke, she's been talking about leaving? By the time she got home, I was so angry I could barely see.
Ramon?
Hey, baby. I'm glad you're home.
Tell me lies. Screw around and you're gonna leave me?
Oh my God.
I don't think so.
Relax, okay? Because I got everything under control.
Oh my God.
Mama,
Oh
come
my
on.
God.
Get off the phone, all right?
I decide who comes and goes in this family.
Get away from me.
Angela, listen to me.
I'm not
Put
even
the
that
phone
far
down.
out. Get away from me.
Angela, come on.
It was time for Angela to go.
There was blood on the door around the knob.
They entered and they saw blood all over the walls. They found what they initially identified as a white female that had been badly beaten and shot.
Stop it.
They did search the house quite thoroughly.
There were toys in the home and 3 small tricycles.
One of the neighbors said that, yeah, there were 3 children that lived at the house. She also said that Ramon had been there and had left the house in apparently something of a hurry, only 15 or so minutes before we had arrived.
The concern then turned to the children.
Not only do we have a murder suspect out there, we potentially have a murder suspect with his 3 daughters. Looking at Ramon at that point, it was very, very difficult to try to figure out what his likely actions would be. Our impression was he was doing a fair amount of drinking and probably doing some drugs.
It's a race against time. We have to find Ramon before he kills someone else.
There were 2 people dead. Another one was wounded. This man was at large, and his 3 daughters were gone somewhere, possibly with him.
We were really concerned that he was going to go on killing other persons, and we had no idea who those might be.
The sheriff's department did learn that Angela Salcido's father and mother and her 2 sisters lived about 10 or 15 miles away.
We contact the local agency there, ask them to respond to their residents.
Angie wasn't good about keeping secrets. I knew she told her mother that Sophia wasn't mine. Angie's family was always talking bad about me, saying I drank too much, telling Angie she should leave me. They were laughing about Sophia behind my back, and I wanted them to shut up. If they can't do it themselves, I'll do it for them.
Hi, Ramon.
Oh, yeah, Marion. I gotta get inside the house, okay?
Ramon?
When the officers got to the Lakewood Avenue home,
Richard?
they went inside and they found basically a bloodbath. 3 victims, 2 were children, and a woman.
They find Marion Richards, who was 47 years old and Angela's mother. She has defensive wounds like she had put up a fight. Her throat is slashed. They go into another room and they find Marion's 8-year-old daughter, Marie. Her throat is slashed. In the kitchen, the police located another one of Marion's daughters, Ruth. She was laying face down in a pool of blood.
I don't think any of us can understand or have any idea or any comprehension of that kind of cruelty and violence.
We knew who he was. We had pictures of him. What he was capable of, we had really no concept because his range of violence was so broad. Basically, all we could assume is he was capable of anything.
In my mind, I was already a dead man. Angela was gone. My life was over. My mother was the only woman who never lied to me. The only one in the world who really loved me. Hello, Mommy. And the only one who could help me.
We found an address book, and the address book was open to a specific page. This number on there was his mother's number in Los Mochis, Mexico.
I'm gonna call.
She told us that he had called, that he had told her that he had killed Angela, that the girls were okay, that he was going to kill himself. And she begged him not to do that. She asked him to come down and see her one last time.
What we now know is that he's heading southbound. Is he still with his girls? Has he dropped them off somewhere? We put out a whole statewide APP, all the way to Mexico.
A report came in that his car had been found in a parking lot near a department store.
It was abandoned, nobody was around. We found a Ruger 22 underneath the front seat.
There was a picture of Angela, and she'd written on the back, "To my Ramon, I love you." She was a very attractive young woman, and had gotten the idea that she'd like to try some modeling. So she was kind of branching out in her life, getting a little more mature, and he couldn't handle that.
I suspect he didn't like the idea that she was going to try to become a model. I suspect he didn't want to give her that kind of freedom and perhaps develop a career own. This stress was going on between them at that point in time, and that, I'm sure, was part of the causative factors in this.
he was believed that she was having affairs with different people, and he was kind of spiraling on this jealousy that he had about her.
One of the other items in the car was a photograph of the three daughters. On the back of it, he'd written that we will be together in God's other world.
This really caused concern because that was kind of like an indication that the girls weren't in this world anymore. There was a lot of blood on some of the seats, so at this point it even became a bigger concern whether or not the little girls are in the trunk of the vehicle.
Not finding the girls deceased was a point of optimism. You can hope that he hasn't killed them, and he's not going to kill them.
Found a note that they believed he'd written, said, "Forgive me, God, this law made me do it." They believed that that referred to his financial troubles that were brewing.
Ramon Salcido had been married before, had fathered a child that he evidently had not been supporting and had abandoned. And he had been taken to court and ordered to pay child support for that child. This was a family that was in crisis, there was no question about it, and it was coming at them from all different angles.
Where you going, huh?
Please leave me alone, okay? I'm so sorry.
Transient had gone to a kind of a county dump, and he happened to look over an embankment and saw what he thought to be 3 large dolls. As he looked a little bit closer, he saw that one of them moved, and he realized that they weren't dolls at all, but girls.
The 3 girls were identified as the Salcido daughters.
Sophia and Teresa were both dead. In both cases, their throats had been cut. Carmina's throat had also been cut, and the windpipe had been cut very severely.
By chance or miracle, she landed in such a way that her chin was down and was able to help stop the bleeding. So she sat there, laid there on the ground for 36 hours until she was found.
Showman walks up to me and said, what happened? What happened? And he said, Daddy cut me. And about 5-10 minutes later, I hear ambulances coming.
We learned that we went to every scene exactly the opposite of how it occurred.
The first people that were killed were the last ones discovered, and that was the children. The children were the first ones that were killed.
He then killed his mother-in-law.
Hi, Ramon.
And then he also killed the girls at the house.
He went back home, and there he found Angela.
At this point, he's decided I no longer have a family. I've had problems with my bosses at work. I'm going to resolve that problem too. Ramon?
The telephone company records were researched, and it was determined that a call had been made to his mother in the morning of the murders.
I always had a temper. When I was a kid, and I'd get angry, my mother would tell me everything was gonna be all right. But it wasn't. By now the cops have probably figured it all out. seeing what my women made me do. But it's too late. Once I cross into Mexico, everything's gonna be fine.
Whether he was going to go further south, nobody knew.
He was still out there. He was armed. He apparently was willing to kill anyone.
We're doing our best to try to track down leads that were all over the west coast of the United States and trying to make connections into Mexico to see if we can get people searching for him down there.
That is always a concern because there is no extradition treaty between the United States and Mexico, especially when the death penalty is involved. And this, of course, was a case that was going to be a special circumstances death penalty case.
So they were quite concerned that they would not be able to get him back into the United States. Among all the tips was a call from one of Ramon's brother-in-laws, who indicated that he was down in Mexico, hiding out at his mother's home.
We received another phone call, and this told us that he was now planning on fleeing. He was going to catch a train and go further south in Mexico.
The federal agents pursue him, and they're able to catch up to Ramon at the train station. And they're able to take him into custody without incident.
A real man doesn't cry or whine about his problems. A real man takes control and fixes things. That's what I did.
After Ramon was taken into custody in Mexico, he had a smile on his face for much of the time, almost like he was enjoying perhaps the attention that he was getting.
To see a guy smile after committing this many murders, I was pissed. Ramon never showed any emotion at all. He wouldn't even have gotten the impression that he was the murderer. He gave us the complete account of why he did it, what he had done.
Ramon's motive in committing these murders, he was angry at Angela.
Stop it!
He wanted to hurt Angela. The first thing that he could think of to hurt Angela was to kill the children.
I've defended many people charged with murder. I've prosecuted several people charged with murder. They're all hard to understand, but Ramon Salcido takes it to a level that is just completely off the charts. I think he's a person that's so wounded and so disabled and so limited in his ability to connect to another human being that I don't think you and I can have any understanding of that. His daughter is still trying to understand that.
As soon as he's seen me, he got this great big grin on his face, just like it was a big happy family reunion. He's like, you know, I wish I could turn the clock back to those days and do things differently. And I'm sorry to you and all the victims' families and everybody I've hurt. He just wasn't sincere.
I used to think I was living the American dream. Now I know it's just a game. I loved my beautiful American wife. She betrayed me. I worked hard to earn money. The government took it all away. I couldn't win. Yeah, I made some mistakes. But for that one day of my life, I got to make my own rules. And I don't regret that for a second.